I was about to fall asleep when my brother texted me. Check your location. You're not at Melissa's house. That's not her address. You need to leave right now. I stared at my screen, confused. Of course I was at Melissa's house. I'd been there for 3 hours. We had eaten pizza, watched movies, and painted our nails. Her parents had said goodnight about an hour earlier. I was lying in her guest bedroom with purple walls and a collection of vintage posters she'd shown me when I arrived. The message had to be wrong. Maybe Dylan was tired or the app was glitching. My brother wasn't the type to send vague warnings at 11:30 p.m. He was 23, worked in IT security, and lived 2 hours away in the city. We usually texted once a week about small things. This felt completely unlike him. I opened the location-sharing app our parents had made us install after our cousin went missing for 8 hours at a college party. The map loaded slowly. The blue dot appeared on a street I didn't recognize, Pinewood Terrace, house number 2847. But Melissa lived on Oakmont Drive. I had been to her house twice before for birthday parties in middle school. Her address was 156 Oakmont Drive. I was certain I had memorized it because it matched my locker combination. Another text from Dylan appeared. Natalie, I'm serious. That address is registered to someone named Howard Finch. I just checked property records. Where do you think you are? My hands began to shake. I sat up in bed and looked around the room more carefully. The purple walls suddenly felt darker. The vintage posters seemed out of place. One was for a band called The Remnants that I had never heard of. Another showed a 1987 movie with actors I didn't recognize. Melissa liked current pop music and superhero films. Why would she have these older posters? I grabbed my overnight bag and took out my phone charger, trying to think clearly. Maybe her family had moved and she forgot to mention it. That happens. But wouldn't she have told me something that important? We sat together at lunch every day. She had invited me to this sleepover just yesterday, saying her parents were finally allowing friends over again after her grades improved. I texted Dylan back. Maybe they moved recently. I'm definitely at Melissa's house. I came here with her after school. 3 dots appeared immediately. Call me right now. Don't say anything out loud. Just listen. I pressed call with unsteady fingers. Dylan answered on the first ring. His voice was controlled but tense. Nat, stay calm and trust me. Mom asked me to check on you, so I've been watching your location. It's shown that Pinewood address since 6 p.m. I thought the app was wrong, so I verified it through property records. Howard Finch, 48, owns that house. Bought it 8 years ago. No other occupants listed. But I'm at Melissa's house, I whispered. I came with her. Her mom answered the door. We ate dinner with her parents. They're upstairs asleep. Natalie, listen carefully. Dylan's voice sharpened slightly. I need you to describe everything from the moment school ended today. I closed my eyes and retraced the afternoon. Melissa met me at my locker after last period. She was excited about the sleepover and said her dad was making his homemade pizza. We walked to the parking lot together. We didn't take the bus because she said her mom would pick us up since they lived too far from the route. A blue sedan was waiting. A dark-haired woman was in the driver's seat. She waved at us and smiled. I sat in the back with Melissa. We drove for about 20 minutes talking about the history test we failed. The driver stayed mostly quiet, glancing at us in the rearview mirror. Now that I thought about it, I hadn't seen her face clearly. The woman driving, I said slowly. I didn't really get a good look at her, and the man who opened the door here was wearing a baseball cap pulled low. He said he was Melissa's dad, but you never confirmed that he was, Dylan finished the sentence. Nat, where is Melissa right now? I stood up, my legs weak. She went to get us water about 10 minutes ago. She said she'd be right back. There was a long pause on the line. I need you to look around that room, Dylan said carefully. Really look. Tell me what you see. I turned slowly, examining everything closely. The bed had a floral comforter that felt too mature for a teenage girl. The dresser had a thin layer of dust as if it hadn't been used recently. The closet door was slightly open. Inside it was empty. No clothes, no shoes. My stomach tightened. On the nightstand was a framed photo.
I picked it up with shaking hands. It showed a family, 2 parents and a teenage girl smiling at the camera. But the girl wasn't Melissa. She looked younger, maybe 13 or 14, with lighter hair and different features. The photo itself looked old. "Dylan, there's a picture here. It's not Melissa. I don't recognize these people." "Leave the house now," he said firmly. "Don't worry about manners. Don't say goodbye. Take your bag and go. I'm calling the police and sending them there, but you have to get out immediately." I grabbed my bag and moved toward the door. My hand was on the knob when I heard heavy footsteps in the hallway. Someone was coming up the stairs. The steps were too heavy to be Melissa's. I stepped back, my heart pounding. "Someone's coming," I whispered. "Dylan, someone's on the stairs." "Is there a window?" he asked quickly. "Can you get out through it?" I looked at the window facing the backyard. It was about a 10-foot drop, but there were bars across it, decorative bars I had barely noticed before. Now they were clearly security bars. "There are bars. I can't get out." The footsteps stopped outside the door. The knob turned slowly. "Natalie, are you still awake?" a man's voice called, the same voice that had greeted us earlier. "I thought you might need extra blankets. It gets cold in this room." I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight. Dylan was saying something urgently, but I couldn't process it. The door opened. The man stood there. This time I saw his face clearly. Late 40s, graying hair, glasses. He looked ordinary, like a teacher or accountant, but his eyes were flat and observant. "You're on the phone," he said calmly. "That's not ideal. Who are you speaking to?" I moved back against the wall, holding up my phone. "My brother. He's calling the police. They're on their way." His expression didn't change. "Your brother, Dylan, the IT security analyst who lives in Seattle. Yes, we're aware of Dylan. We've been preparing this for some time. Natalie, we know your family's routines, your schedules. Melissa has been very helpful with gathering information." The room felt unsteady. "What do you mean? Where's Melissa?" "Melissa is exactly where she should be, downstairs with my wife discussing all the activities you girls will do together. She's a loyal daughter. She helps her family when needed." He spoke calmly, as if explaining a routine decision. "Rebecca was exceptional, intelligent, kind. We believed if we found someone similar, someone with the same qualities, we could rebuild what we lost." I struggled to process his words. Melissa and I had been friends since freshman year. We shared classes, ate lunch daily. She told me about her parents, her strict rules, her younger brother. All of it had been fabricated. "The police are coming," I said, forcing steadiness into my voice. "My brother sent this address. They'll be here soon." He smiled slightly, but there was no warmth in it. "I'm sure they will. But when they arrive, they'll see a teenage girl spending the night at her friend's house, a family you've known for years, a house you've visited before. That's what your messages and social media accounts will confirm. Melissa has carefully built that history, screenshots of conversations that never happened."
Photos of events you never attended. Digital footprints are easy to manufacture when someone understands how to manipulate them. He brought his hand forward, revealing a syringe. "This will help you relax," he said evenly. "It will make things easier while we organize everything. You'll be staying with us for a while. You can help us be a family again. If you cooperate, if you learn to be the daughter we need, everything will go smoothly." Rebecca resisted at first, too. Eventually, she would have understood if she hadn't ruined everything by running away. My phone was still at my ear. Dylan's voice was shouting instructions, but the sound in my head drowned most of it out. The man stepped closer. I scanned the room for something I could use to defend myself. The lamp was too far away. My overnight bag was near the door. The only object within reach was the framed photograph. I grabbed it and threw it at his face with all my strength. The glass shattered against his forehead. He stumbled back, swearing, blood running from a cut above his eyebrow. I ran for the door, but he recovered quickly. His hand seized my arm, fingers digging in painfully. I screamed as loudly as I could. "Richard, she's resisting!" he shouted toward the stairs. "Bring Melissa up here!" I twisted in his grip, trying to break free. He forced me against the wall, the syringe still in his other hand, moving toward my neck. Then we both heard it. Sirens, several of them, getting closer. His expression shifted instantly. The calm calculation disappeared, replaced with anger. "You have no idea what you've done," he snapped. "We spent months planning this. Melissa worked for months building your trust, learning everything about you. This was supposed to be flawless." "Let her go, Howard!" A woman's voice came from the hallway. I looked and saw the driver from the car, the woman who had pretended to be Melissa's mother. Her face was tense now, anger mixed with fear. "The police are here," she said. "It's finished. Let her go. Maybe we can still limit the damage." "It's not finished," Howard replied, tightening his grip. "We can explain this. We can still make it." "Dad, stop!" Another voice interrupted. I looked past the woman and saw Melissa standing at the top of the stairs. She didn't look like the friend I knew. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red from crying. "Dad, please, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep lying. I can't keep hurting people." "Melissa, go to your room," the woman said sharply. "This doesn't involve you." "Yes, it does," Melissa said, her voice breaking. "It involves me because I have to live with it. I'm the one who pretends to be friends with girls so you can try to replace Rebecca. But no one can replace her. She's gone, and taking random girls won't change that." The sirens were directly outside now. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Car doors slammed. Officers shouted commands. "Police, the house is surrounded. Come out with your hands visible." Howard's grip loosened slightly. That small opening was enough. I pulled free and ran toward the stairs, pushing past Melissa and the woman. I almost fell, but caught the railing. The front door was secured with a deadbolt. My hands were shaking as I turned it. Then it opened, and I ran into the cold night air. Police officers were everywhere, weapons drawn, ordering me to get down and show my hands. I dropped to my knees in the driveway, raising my phone above my head. An officer ran toward me and guided me behind a patrol car. "Are you Natalie Armstrong?" she asked, steady and direct. "Are you injured?" I shook my head. I couldn't speak. My body was trembling uncontrollably. She spoke into her radio, confirming the victim was secured and requesting medical support. Other officers moved toward the house, ordering the occupants to exit. The front door opened slowly. The woman came out first, hands raised, face expressionless. Then Howard, blood still visible on his forehead. He was handcuffed immediately and placed on the ground. Both were read their rights while I sat behind the patrol car, wrapped in a blanket. "Natalie!" Dylan's voice came from my phone. I had forgotten the call was still connected. "Nat, are you okay? Talk to me." "I'm okay," I managed. "I'm outside. I'm safe." "Thank God. Stay on the line. Mom and Dad are coming. I called them right after 911. They're on the way." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Another figure came out of the house, escorted by 2 officers. Melissa walked slowly, head down, hands behind her. As she passed the patrol car, she looked at me. Our eyes met briefly. There was no anger in her expression, only exhaustion and what seemed to be relief. The officer beside me asked if I needed medical attention. I said no again. I wasn't physically hurt, but I felt shaken in ways I couldn't yet explain. More police arrived, followed by an ambulance and detectives in plain clothes. One of them, a woman with short gray hair, introduced herself as Detective Lydia Reeves. Her voice was calm and professional. She asked if I could answer some questions. I told her everything, beginning with Melissa inviting me to the sleepover. My voice sounded distant, almost mechanical, as if I were listing facts instead of reliving events. Detective Reeves recorded my statement and asked for clarification when needed. When she finished, she paused before speaking. "Natalie, you need to understand something. This isn't the first time. The Finches, that's their real name, have been under investigation for months. We suspected illegal activity but lacked direct evidence. 3 weeks ago, Melissa contacted us. She said she wanted out. She couldn't continue living this way. Since then, she has been cooperating with us, but we needed proof of an actual attempt. Tonight was meant to provide that evidence." I stared at her. "You knew? You knew they were going to take me?" "We knew they were planning something. Melissa told us they had chosen a girl from your school who fit their criteria. She didn't know your name until this afternoon. As soon as your brother confirmed the location, our units moved in. You were monitored the entire time." The meaning sank in slowly. Then anger surfaced through the fear. "So I was bait. You used me without telling me?" Detective Reeves' expression tightened. "We couldn't inform you. If you had acted differently, they would have noticed. The Finches are highly cautious. If they sensed anything unusual, they would have abandoned the plan and targeted someone else later. Without evidence, we couldn't arrest them." "He had a syringe. He was going to drug me." "We were 30 seconds from breaching the door when you ran out. You were never out of view. We had thermal imaging tracking everyone in the house. The moment the threat became immediate, we were prepared to intervene." At that moment, my parents arrived. My mother's SUV stopped abruptly behind the police vehicles. She ran toward me before the engine was fully off. My father followed closely. They both held me, and that was when I finally cried. Uncontrolled, shaking sobs. My mother kept repeating something I couldn't fully hear. My father spoke sharply with Detective Reeves. I caught fragments: consent, minor, legal action, unacceptable. "Dylan." My phone was still at my ear. My father took it, spoke briefly, and ended the call. The next few hours passed in a blur of formal statements, medical checks, and meetings with victim support coordinators. We were taken to the station, where I repeated my account several times. Each retelling made it feel distant, as if it had happened to someone else. My parents stayed beside me the entire time. My mother held my hand. My father's jaw remained tense. Around 3 a.m., Detective Reeves returned with additional details. The Finches had been doing this for years, since their biological daughter, Rebecca, had run away. Rebecca had later been located living with friends in another state. She refused to return home, filed for emancipation at 16, and cut contact permanently. That loss had deeply affected Howard and his wife, Diane. They became convinced they could recreate what they lost by finding girls who resembled Rebecca and reshaping them into replacements. Melissa was not their biological daughter. She had been abducted 7 years earlier, at age 11. Her real name was Melissa Thornton. She had been reported missing from a mall in another state. For the first year, they kept her isolated and homeschooled her. They systematically erased her identity and rebuilt her as their daughter. By the time she entered public school, she had been conditioned to maintain the role convincingly. But she never forgot who she was. She learned to survive by pretending. Over the years, she witnessed them attempt similar plans with other girls. Most attempts failed early due to suspicion, parental intervention, or the Finches deciding that
Ordinary details felt distant from the reality of what had just happened. That night, I lay in my own bed, in my own room, and couldn't sleep despite being completely exhausted. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Howard's face, the syringe in his hand, and Melissa's blank expression as she led me into that house. Eventually, my mom came in and lay beside me without speaking. She didn't try to explain anything. She was simply there. School was not an option the following week. My parents kept me home, and no one questioned it. Within days, the media had picked up the story. The Finch house was featured on every local news channel. Reporters called repeatedly until my dad changed our phone number. The school sent a counselor to our house. She was kind but limited in what she could offer. There is no standard guide for processing being selected as a replacement child by a family that had already successfully abducted someone. Dylan drove down from Seattle and stayed several days. He didn't push me to talk about what happened. Instead, he focused on practical steps. He set up a new phone for me with maximum security settings, helped me secure my social media accounts, and explained digital footprints and online safety. Those small actions gave me back a sense of control. The preliminary hearing was scheduled 3 weeks later. My parents hired a victim advocate who explained the legal process and what to expect. I would eventually testify at trial, but for the hearing, my written statement was sufficient. Melissa's testimony was central to the prosecution's case. She appeared via video link, her image pixelated for privacy. From the victims section of the courtroom, I watched as she calmly described 7 years of captivity. She explained how the Finches had erased Melissa Thornton and reshaped her into their daughter. She detailed the other girls they had targeted, those who escaped and those who didn't get that far. She described how she was instructed to befriend me, learn my routine, and identify vulnerabilities. Her tone remained steady. She delivered the facts without visible emotion. I understood that detachment was part of how she survived. Howard and Diane sat at the defense table, looking older and smaller than I remembered. Diane cried throughout the testimony. Howard remained expressionless. At one point, he looked directly at me. I held his gaze. I had survived. I was not his victim. The judge ruled there was enough evidence to proceed to trial and denied bail, citing both flight risk and danger to the community. Howard and Diane were taken into custody. As they were escorted out, Diane turned toward the courtroom monitor showing Melissa's video feed and shouted accusations. She insisted they had saved her and given her a family. Bailiffs had to restrain her. Howard left quietly. After the hearing, the victim advocate asked if I wanted to meet Melissa in person. She was in a nearby conference room and was willing to talk. I wasn't certain I was ready, but I agreed. Melissa was seated at a table when I entered. She wore jeans and a sweater. Her hair was cut shorter, styled in a bob that made her look different, more defined, more herself. "Hi," she said carefully. "Hi," I replied, sitting across from her. We sat in silence for a moment. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I know that's not enough. I know it doesn't change anything, but I am sorry. I should have found another way. I should have stopped them years ago." "You were 11 when they took you. You were a child. You survived the only way you could." "That doesn't make what I did okay," she replied. "I brought you there. I lied to you for months. I helped them choose you because you matched their image of Rebecca, smart, kind, trusting. I knew what they intended, and I still followed through." Her voice broke slightly. "Why did you stop them now?" I asked. She was quiet before answering. "Because I saw myself in you, the way you trusted me, the way you didn't know what was coming. 7 years ago, I was you. I went home with someone I thought I could trust, and everything changed. I couldn't let that happen again, not when I finally had the chance to stop it." "Detective Reeves said you contacted the police weeks earlier." "I did. It took that long to build the courage. Even then, I almost withdrew many times. The Finches are the only family I clearly remember. My biological parents feel distant,
like characters from a story. Choosing to turn against the Finches meant risking being alone. "What happens now?" I asked. "I don't know. My biological parents want to reconnect. I'm 18, so it's my decision. I can try to rebuild that relationship or start over somewhere new. There's a victim assistance fund to help with therapy, housing, and education. I'll try to create a normal life, whatever that means." "Do you remember your original name?" I asked. She gave a faint smile. "Melissa is my real name. They didn't change that. They changed everything else. My last name, my history, my personality. They kept Melissa because Diane's mother had that name. It was supposed to honor her." We spoke for another hour, not about the case or the trauma, but about school, teachers, and classmates. I told her about the calculus exam we both missed and upcoming drama club auditions. She listened as if imagining a life she might have had under different circumstances. When we stood to leave, she hugged me briefly. "Thank you for not hating me," she said. "I hate what happened," I told her, "but I don't hate you. You were a victim too." She nodded, not fully convinced, but accepting the words. I watched her walk away with her advocate, realizing we might never see each other again. Our lives intersected at a breaking point, but we would move forward separately. The trial began 8 months later. I testified for 2 days, explaining everything that happened. The defense suggested I misunderstood events and overreacted. The evidence contradicted that claim: barred windows, the syringe, prior victims, and Melissa's testimony. The jury deliberated for less than 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Howard received 35 years. Diane received 28. With likely failed appeals, they would probably spend the rest of their lives in prison. When sentencing was announced, I felt relief for the first time. It wasn't closure. Trauma doesn't resolve neatly. But it was justice. I began therapy with a specialist in abduction and trauma. She explained that hypervigilance, nightmares, and trust issues were normal responses to extreme circumstances. She taught coping strategies and helped me process not only what occurred, but what could have occurred. I graduated high school on time, something I once doubted. Dylan attended the ceremony with my parents. I chose a college 3 hours away, far enough for independence, close enough to return home if needed. My parents preferred I stay local, but they understood that moving forward mattered. Melissa sent a graduation card. It read, "Thank you for surviving. I'm trying to do the same. Starting community college in the fall. Maybe we'll both be okay." I kept it in my desk drawer. A year later, on the anniversary of that night, I drove to Pinewood Terrace. The house was empty, a for sale sign in the yard. I sat in my car across the street, observing the ordinary suburban setting. A woman walked her dog. A child rode past on a bike. Life continued. Recovery, I realized, is gradual. It's not a single breakthrough. It's the steady return of normal days, classes, casual complaints about professors, meals with friends who don't define you by your trauma. I texted Dylan. "I'm okay. Just needed to see it." He replied immediately. "Proud of you. Call if you need me." I drove away. The house disappeared behind a turn. 2 years after the trial, I received an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject read, "It's Melissa." I opened it. "I found them. My biological family. It's complicated, but I'm trying. This is me with my little sister. I was 11 when I was taken. She was 4. She doesn't remember me, but we're reconnecting. Thank you for saving my life by almost losing yours. If you hadn't been there that night, I might never have found the courage to stop it. I hope you're choosing yourself, too." The attached photo showed her smiling, arm around a teenage girl who shared her expression. I replied, "I'm choosing myself every day. It's getting easier." We didn't become close friends. Our connection was rooted in trauma, but we checked in occasionally. She completed community college and transferred to a university to study social work. I chose psychology, wanting to understand manipulation and control. 5 years after that night, I completed